Welcome back to another reading of Scripture. My name is Father Peter, and we hope that you're enjoying the series. If you do, let us know. Subscribe, click the like button, leave a comment. You're talking in front of two cameras, all these series. I miss seeing faces, so make yourselves known. Would be nice. We really would appreciate that. Sunday, we're going to be celebrating Epiphany, which is the Festival of Lights. And of course, we have some great readings. We all know the reading from Matthew, and when the wise men see the star and the rising and come to Jerusalem, and they meet Herod, and it's a great story. And then first reading, we have Isaiah, which is a great story about how light is going to destroy the darkness, all the nations, and reveal God to the world. But I'm going to go this week with the letter to the Ephesians. It's a terrific letter. Before we look at some of the details of this letter, let's see what the world was like. Now, this letter was written later on in the first century. So the world at that time was, the Christians were experiencing some difficulties. All of the eyewitnesses to Jesus, the ones that saw Jesus in his life, were all dead now. All the apostles were dead. Jesus was supposed to come back for the second time, but he hasn't come back yet, and he doesn't seem like he's going to be coming back anytime soon. On top of that, the churches are starting to build. They're starting to grow, which means the outside world is starting to notice them, and they're no longer under the radar. So people are seeing them, and what they're doing. And from the outside, they're looking at a group of, and they're saying that they look like, from the outside, a bunch of losers who was worshiping a crucified loser, somebody that was a big failure. And say, why are you worshiping a failure for? Somebody that was crucified. Shouldn't you be worshiping somebody with a little bit more power, somebody that's going to take over the Roman Empire? Now, on top of all of these problems, in addition to this, they're realizing that their Christian living is not making any impact in the world. There's still evil in the world. So Christians are getting discouraged at this point, and they're ready to throw in the towel. And so with all of these problems and leadership and the missing Christ, this letter came about to address these problems, and the letter was very effective. It worked. It helped them, it emboldened them. And why the letter was so effective is because of what Paul is saying in this particular reading. So let me just read a little bit of it. And so he says, "Brothers and sisters, you have heard of the stewardship of God's grace that was given to me for the benefit, namely, that the mystery was made known to me by revelation," the mystery. And so it is has not been made known to people in other generations, as it has been revealed to the holy apostles and the prophets by the Spirit. So this mystery. So what is this mystery? Well, mystery is the plan of God. It's God's plan. So in other words, what Paul is saying here is don't throw in the towel yet, because this is part of the plan. This is supposed to happen, all of this stuff. So don't get discouraged. This is God's plans are always victorious. So let's talk a little bit about plans. We all have experienced coming up with a nice plan. And what happens when we have a plan and we reveal it to somebody? The first thing that they're itching to do, the outside, is they want to mess up our plan. That's always the case. That they think, oh, that plan isn't going to work. Or that I have a better plan than that. Or they put us down or something. So that the plan is always seems to be rejected. I remember my brother and his wife, and they were planning to get married. They were engaged, and what they wanted was a very simple wedding. Just a little get together, a little food, some background music, and just a get together, and some simplicity and inexpensive. That was the key. And the father of the bride got wind of the plan, and he ruined everything. He says, I'm not going to have my daughter. I'm a professional caterer. She will not have food from 7-Eleven. I'm going to provide the food. So we had two parties, one in the afternoon after the wedding under a big tent, and it was. Then we had another party at a reception hall. And we had a really good time, but their plan was ruined. Another time I was going to go fishing. I had this plan. It was my day off, and so I revealed the plan to one of my bosses, and he said, "Well, you can't go tomorrow. There's a meeting." So the thing is, the idea here is that whenever we have a plan, we want to. Somebody's always itching to ruin it. Now take the divine plan. So now God's plan is ridiculously impossible. And so that's all God's plans. God's plans are always very, very difficult, and everybody doesn't. Nobody likes God's plan. They always come up with a reason why they don't want to follow God's plan. So remember Gideon? That's a great story. So Gideon is a general, and he has 32,000 troops in front of an army that has 132,000 troops. Well, you're pretty outnumbered. So God goes to Gideon and says, listen, you got too many people. Get rid of some of these soldiers. So if they're afraid of the odds, just say, go home. So he told his army, and 22,000 troops walked out the door. So he had 10,000 left against 132,000 troops. So then God goes back to Gideon again, and Gideon's like, oh no, what's going to happen now? So God says, you still get too many. So he reduces the army to 300, and they won. They won, and the beauty of the battle was that nobody died, and God was victorious, and so it was God that did it, and so God's plan really worked. Remember Moses? So Moses says God says to Moses, I have this really great plan. You're going to go into Egypt. You're going to tell Pharaoh to release all of his slaves. I'm going to take the slaves now, and we're going to go to the promised land. And Moses says, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. That's a stupid plan. It's not going to work. I'm not going to have an audience with the most powerful man in the world. And then I can't. And then if I do, let's say I do, and I'm going to tell him that you got to release all your slaves. He's not going to think that that's a very good idea. But let's pretend he thinks it's a really good idea, and he lets us go. Now we're in a desert with no food, no water, and your plan stinks. We all know that that was the beauty of the story is God's plans are always impossible, and yet they work. They always work. Look at Peter when Jesus revealed the plan that to go to Jerusalem to suffer and die on the cross, and then to rise on the third day. Peter was all over that. He said, "No, you're not doing that. I'm not going to allow that to happen." And so we're always itching to stop the divine plan. So that's why the divine plan is a mystery. God's not going to reveal his plan because we want to mess it up. So Paul says that I'm going to reveal the plan, and this suffering is the road to victory. This is the way to. So you don't want to throw in the towel because God is victorious, and this is the divine plan. So he reveals the plan to people who say that believe that God can do the impossible. And that's what this letter was really all about. It was supposed to embolden them to say that don't worry, let God finish the story. It's not done yet. And so here Paul is the revealer of the plan. This is part of the plan, all this suffering and this humiliation. That's the road to success. And we need to stay on that road. Don't throw in the towel. Just keep with it. And this letter can talk to us very strongly even today. Sometimes when we get discouraged, we kind of want to say, what's going on? God doesn't seem to be in my life anymore. And we need to have Paul remind us that, no, we're part of a divine plan that's going to work. But this is the way, this is the road to success. So when we go this Sunday to Epiphany Sunday and see the Festival of Lights, that God reveals that the light is really the revelation. What God is revealing is the plan to encourage us to stay with it and to always remain faithful and believe in God and his work. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to see you in the next one.